I call these videos rants, but I'm not sure if rant is the correct term because I'm not necessarily angry. It's just a video where I throw on a camera and just talk about the things that have been sort of bouncing around my brain. Some of you that have had conversations with me recently may recognize this as a subject that I've been chewing on for a second. But I thought it might be a fun idea to make a video about it and see what everybody at large thinks about this subject. And this subject, let's see if I can come up with a concise term for it. It is the interactivity of art in comparison to the creative control of the artist. Something like that. I'll call the video, so I'll try to come up with the most ridiculously convoluted title and we'll call it that. But basically, I've been trying to justify this sort of thing that goes on in my head with why I love video games and reading, and I enjoy movies and television, but not quite as much, while still recognizing the massive value and appeal that exists in television and movies. And one of the things that I sort of always go to when I'm having this discussion verbally with some other person is the level of interactivity directly related to the medium that we're dealing with. So when I have a bunch of friends over, I very much am the guy that really strongly dislikes if we're all just sitting around and we all come to the conclusion of, oh, we should go watch this movie. That doesn't mean I never want to go watch movies with a friend. That doesn't mean I don't ever plan times to get together and watch movies. But generally speaking, I lean towards not loving the act of watching movies or television shows with a group of people, and it's directly related to the level of interactivity involved with both the people that I'm with and the artistic medium itself. As a child, I've always gravitated towards things like books and video games because so much of your enjoyment of this art form is directly correlated to effort that you have to put forward personally to get something out of the art. So in a video game, you are literally controlling a character in most instances. You are interacting with everything on a very, very visceral level, I guess. Whether it be like an adventure game where you're just clicking on things and examining objects or talking to different characters and learning about the environment that way, or whether you're directly involved in I'm going to kill this character in a video game, or I am going to blow up that building in a video game. These are all very hands-on activities, while at the same time you still have an artist who creates this work, who has a vision and is trying to convey that vision or create a space where they can allow a vision to happen while you're still engaging with that directly. And I personally just think that's crazy and awesome. It's a medium that I don't think has even scratched the surface of the types of stories that we can tell. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk too much about video games on this channel too much, so I will divert away from that and we'll talk about books because this is the book channel. But hey, if you want to hear me talk more about video games, there's a link to my video game channel down below. It's called Press X to Revolution. All right, cutting the books now. Books are this really, really fascinating way of telling a story where you have the author be able to, with as much detail or as little detail as they sort of choose, in a way that can be poetic, in a way that can be straightforward, a way that can be brutal, a way that can be sentimental, be able to describe the actual thoughts of a character's head, describe the scene in the way that they choose to, describe in very specific language the reactions of characters as they have dialogue, as you tell this story. Books have a very interesting level of being able to actually get inside a character's head in a way that no other medium really can without coming across as being really corny. It's been a little bit since I've had a LaCroix. Let's go ahead and crack this baby open. But books also require a lot more investiture from the person interacting with the art because you have to read the dang thing. Or even if you're listening on audio, which requires slightly less engagement, I would say. And this is not me audiobook shaming. I use audiobooks all the time, but it does require less mental energy than reading the book on page yourself. But you have to sort of put these pieces together in your mind. You have to put the story structure together, the characters together. Many people, I think, actually visualize elements of a story as they're reading it, whether it be the characters, the environments. Some people do that less. Some people don't have, there's a mental thing that lets them not be able to visualize things like that. But I think the majority of readers probably do some sort of visualization or some sort of reimagining of I'm casting this character as this character in the book in my head. And while the author still tells you a lot of things directly on the page, he can still do the I'm a mature author, I expect a lot out of you. I'm expecting you to infer subtext. I'm expecting you to find out what's going on here. Maybe it's a little bit more mysterious. There's still so much engagement and commitment required as a reader when you engage with a book, even though the author has the tool set of being able to literally tell you things more specifically than some other mediums. Then we have movies and television. Movies and television, how do I say this? They're just not as interactive. You sit there and every single piece of the story is shown to you visually. You can hear anything that the director wants you to hear. The characters are specifically making, everything is just presented to you in the most complete way that an artist can present a work. Now, this is not an inherently negative thing. This is like if an artist really wants to convey every single aspect, from the shot to the framing, to the amount of time that you show everything, to the color direction, to the sound design, to the score. All of this is the most demanding of the artist and the artists involved. And I don't know how much you've watched like behind the scenes documentaries of movies or television shows. A lot of those are really available for a lot of new shows, but holy crap, people are willing to spend hundreds of hours and millions of dollars on a single 30-second scene if they think that it's worth it, because they want it to be portrayed to you in the exact perfect methodology. This is the scene they had in their head, and they want to convey that to you in the most specific way. There's no room for other types of interpretation of what they sort of want to present to you. There is something awesome about that, because the creator can get their vision displayed in the most personal way to them. The most accurate way to what they're trying to convey can be done in movie or television format. And I realize as a viewer, you can analyze a movie. You can look at the way they frame shots. You can discuss the reasons that a director may have made certain choices. And that is all well and good. But to just absorb the medium, it is the most passive way to enjoy a story, I would say. Some people enjoy that more, some people enjoy that less. I frequently find that I'm getting less out of movies because I have to put less into them to enjoy them in the first place. And like I said, I'm not trying to be overly harsh, because I absolutely love some movies. There are movies that I love, I would watch all the time, but as a whole, this is not my thing as much as it is some other people's thing. I think book people are way in the minority, but I'm talking to book people here. Now let's talk about another one of my favorite mediums, which is sort of a blending of some of the pros and cons of both of these, which is audio dramas, which are very similar to audiobooks. They are more passive in a lot of ways. You're listening to a story being told to you, but there is more directorial freedom, more artist control on the sound of voices, the music that's being involved, the sound effects that are involved, but there's still a very active, imaginative component that needs to go on in your brain for you to be able to piece this story together. You have to use your brain to construct the scene, or at least the framework, even if you don't visualize it, though I think most people will be doing some sort of visualization in an audio drama sort of format. I love audio dramas because it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. Chill it out, take it slow, then you rock out the show. The thing is, the more you take directorial control away from the receiver of the art, the more you have certain things crop up that you just don't have in books. If there's an actor, for whatever reason, you're not able to connect with them, or you don't like them, or you just don't think they can perform an accent correctly, or you don't like the way they look when they laugh or whatever, that could completely take you out of a movie. You'd be like, Robert Pattinson made a crappy Edward. This movie was not great. I would have cast this other person. You don't do that in books, because in books, you have what they say. You have some descriptions that are given to you of a character, which you can ignore a lot easier in a book form, or you can accept in a book form, and still you have a lot of things that you can do in your head to visualize a character a certain way, or to create the intonation of a line if it's not specifically spelled out. Because in a book, or in an audiobook, or in an audio drama, you have a lot more of that creative freedom to make those decisions for yourself and make the story work for yourself. There's something about when you're reading a story where you are doing your best to be able to grasp the story that the author has placed before you, but a lot of that responsibility is on you as a reader, and I freaking love that. I think it's awesome. In a movie, you have none of that responsibility. You are presented with way more of the author's creative vision without that choice, but you can be given a perfect version of this author's vision, and it may be just something that speaks to you on a different level that you couldn't have imagined for yourself. You watch a movie, like the first time I watched The Matrix, I freaking lost my mind. I love The Matrix, the original Matrix movie. Let's not talk about the other two right now. Just the original Matrix movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. It is freaking perfect on so many levels. It's not something I would have come to on my own conclusion. I wouldn't have been able to do the music. I wouldn't have been able to do the lighting, the moves, the special effects. Like, that wouldn't have processed in my head. And now that I've seen The Matrix, I process other action movies through a different lens because of how influential The Matrix was at getting me to see things a different way, right? Movies and TV have their value. I don't want to crap on them too much, even though they're not my preferred media in general. There's passion all throughout the way that we receive our art, the way that we enjoy our art. But dang, have you ever talked to a Stormlight Archive fan or a Malazan Book of the Fallen fan, someone who's had to invest hundreds of hours just to get a story, and then you want to talk to them about the Stormlight Archive? Let's book people talking about the Stormlight Archive. Dude, I've invested so much of my life in this thing. I know these characters so well. I know this world so well. I care so much about what these things have done because I have had to invest my own blood, sweat, tears, and time into this thing. There's something very, very personal and very, very powerful about that connection point. I'm going to make the statement that may not be popular, that broadly speaking, books are a way more interactive experience than movies. They require a lot more out of you to engage with and to enjoy. And I think that by itself is a neutral, but if you enjoy that sort of thing, it really does create a broader spectrum of reward. More risk, more reward. I just alluded to it a second ago, but the time investment alone has to mean something. We connect more with things that we spend time with more. If we spend a lot of time with a person that we like, we become close to them, they become our best friend. We spend a lot of time with our spouses or significant others, we become close to them, our children. You watch The Office for 8 or 9 how many ever freaking seasons of The Office are, you start to love those characters. You want to see Jim and Pam thrive. You want to see Dwight do Dwight stuff. You spend so many hours with these characters that you are way more invested in them. Heck yeah, when you're watching a movie, you can see actors act really well and you can buy into their performance and you can be invested in those characters, but it's a 2-hour investment. Different people are going to engage with that 2-hour investment on very different levels. And if you're someone like me who really, really enjoys getting time to know a character, finding out depth and nuance, it's not as available to you in the movie format. It is in the television format. But television shows have to be very specifically designed to have episode arcs, and I think that episode arc and pacing can create its own set of issues that I sometimes have beef with. But that's just one of my random rants, one of my thinkings about different ways to absorb things, the investment required. What do you guys think about what I just said? Did you like this video? Please give it a thumbs up if you did. I'd love to discuss this more with you in the comments down below and also in the Discord, which is linked down below, where me and a bunch of my friends get to hang out on a daily basis. Let's talk about interactivity and artistic direction in our favorite mediums. Let's do it. Heck, go out there and make a video. If you have enough thoughts on this topic that you want to create your own video, make the video. Let me know. I'd love to watch other people's sort of deep thoughts on this topic because I'm just trying to sort of figure myself out. When I'm trying to figure out my own brain, some things leak out and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. If you'd like to see more videos from me in this style or in my normal book review style or whatever I normally do on this channel, please hit the subscription button. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified whenever I post new videos. If you'd like to support me financially, there is a link down below to a Patreon where monthly we vote and decide to do a buddy read together. We also hang out and play games together once a month. There's also a merch store for some very dumb t-shirts that have to do with mostly inside jokes on this channel. That's linked down below. But what do you think about this topic? Jump down my throat. I know a lot of people might be offended by something I said here. I didn't mean to say anything in an offensive way. I really do just want to have this conversation, but also be honest about my sort of opinions and takes on movies and television and books and video games and audiobooks and audio dramas. I think I covered everything I talked about. I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you so much for watching. I just want you to know that if we were a movie, you'd be the right guy, and I'd be the best friend that you fall in love with. In the end, we'll be laughing, watching the sunset fade to black. Play the names, show the names, play the happy song. My voice is still coming back, folks, and also I don't remember lyrics from when I was a child. Goodbye.
Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If it don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.